Alrighty, we got 3 check marks there. Let's make sure we get the last one up before we're officially off the ground. We're preparing for takeoff, and the wheels are up. Not yet. Now we are. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. It is Tuesday. Who flies?
Who flies anymore? It's like what's that reference? I don't get it. Wheels up? What's that mean?
I'm from the Midwest, so if it was under 18 hours driving distance, it was drivable. That's a classic old man in the car, like, oh, we're going to Colorado. It's a 16-hour drive to the Rockies. We can do that in one day.
And the Atlanta airport is so busy that if it's under 5 hours, you drive because you don't save any time. By the time you drive the airport and get through security and do all this stuff, it's a 5-hour window is how long it takes you to get anywhere.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back. Scott held down the fort last week. Obviously, it was just me talking to myself for an hour, but that made it no different than most other days. So appreciate you not running away, not standing me up today. And you were telling me let's just do personal business for a second. Your kid was killing it out there at the baseball tournament that you were gone for.
Yeah, we were down there Thursday to Saturday, and the boys they played well. I'm an assistant coach on the team, so overall the boys really played well. The kids that needed to have good weekends had good weekends and finished the season strong, which was nice to see. One of the kids got his first home run, which was always good, and yeah, my boy had a good weekend. I think he got out 3 times in 6 games and won the fastest man competition, 4 home runs. He's pretty good. You don't want to talk too much about it, but he's a pretty good player. He's a pretty good baseball player.
Well, awesome. That's I saw the Twitter that you put out with him. I think it was a home run.
It's tryout season, so I was like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and do this and just put that out there and say, listen, if you're looking, you might want to look at this kid because he's going into 7th grade. It's starting to think about, we got around here, baseball's big. We're in East Cobb. Most people who follow any kind of youth baseball have heard of East Cobb, which is, right around here, North Metro. So, a lot of kids around here are committed as freshmen in high school. They're already getting their college scholarship offers and stuff. I'm like, he's going into 7th grade. It's time to use the big account to gas him up a little bit.
The platform, right? We got to get Chad on the Mile High Huddle one. Well, you guys go follow Scott on Twitter. How about while you guys are here, check out how his kid has been killing on the base paths and at the plate.
We did it a long way in Colorado. I promise you that.
that's for sure. Is the All-Star games at Colorado this year? I think too, right?
That's a sore subject in these parts.
Oh, excuse me. You are correct. Well, anyway, Scott Kennedy. Follow him on Twitter at Scout Kennedy, and you can follow myself on Twitter at Nick Kendell MHH. Also, guys, make sure you're checking out the Twitter accounts for our mothership at Mile High Huddle and also at Huddle Up Pod. Station identification. Obviously, this is Broncos for Breakfast. We're coming at you live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 o'clock Mountain Time. We might pump it to 7:30 at some point just because things can get a little busier for me working on the Pacific time. Might need to get out of here, but today is not that day, so thank you for joining us today on here. If you guys are on Facebook, please click those thumbs up. And while you're over there, please facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod, as well as facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. Go there, join the communities, at me on there, at me on Twitter. We'll have some football talk. It's a good time. It's dead season right now. So honestly, this is a good time to really talk hypotheticals, really nerdy stuff. Because if you're joining us today, you are addicted, just like Scott and I are, to the beautiful game of football. YouTube folks, please subscribe, like, and share. And while you're over there as well, make sure you go on over to Scott's channel, youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. I'm going to put the auto sub down there in the link. Scott, you've been gone for a bit, but what's on either?
Nothing.
Nothing's on the docket even.
I've been thinking baseball and Euros for a week.
Ooh, man,
is about it.
I know. I'm really excited for. I'm a Germany football club supporter. And England today, and I have a few British friends who've been saying it's coming home to me nonstop for the last 6-7 days. So it'll be a fun one. Germany, man. Germany is really good against the teams that are over aggressive. They'll kill you. But the teams that sit back and play counters, they just struggle. So we'll see what the UK does. Or excuse me, not the UK. I guess it's England technically in this game. But and also France getting knocked out, man. What a game yesterday. But let's say hello to everybody in the chat coming in here. DBA saying you don't say Kathleen. Probably in reference to something that we weren't in here yet when you were talking. But DBA, I want to give you a shout out. Yeah. He's always in here, or she. Don't want to assume. And we appreciate you. Des is in the house with a thumbs up. We got EJ in the house over on YouTube. Like, subscribe, and share if you're joining us on YouTube today, guys. Good morning, Nick and Scott and Broncos Country. Bob Skinner in the house. Good morning, Broncos Country. We got the Slide and Glide Bros. Good morning, guys. Good morning to Dude Slide and Glide, who's been becoming a real consistent regular here for the show. So we appreciate you. Jason commenting about our earlier discussion. Road trips better than airports. It depends where you're going, right? Like if I'm flying international and I don't even care. I'm in an airport. I'm so excited to be there. US Dave, morning fellows from Southern Arizona. Hopefully you're not melting. Hopefully you have an air conditioner. Gosh, Jason saying morning fellows.
He's in Arizona. He's got an air conditioner.
He better.
I promise you that. It might not be working, but he's got one.
It's too hot. Gary Neighbors in the house. Go Broncos Country. Nick and Scott. Greg Smith is in the house. I love Greg. He always says hello. He always says goodbye. And I appreciate the hell out of you, Greg. Albert Knopper's in the house. Hello, guys. Victor Rios is in the house. We got Tommy coming in here saying Bridgewater, Virginia. I don't know if that's where you're at, but God bless Tommy. Thanks for joining us. We got George Davis in the house. Good morning, Broncos fans from Arkansas. He's talking about where his team, good multiple Little League World Series visits here. DBA saying, what's up, fellas? Welcome back, Scott. Oh, Kirk Cousins in the house also. Morning, boys. Welcome back, Scott. Good to see you. Good to see you. Oh, and we got Muhammad in here. Muhammad, there's no John today, so you're going to have to describe in the comment section what your super sticker is. You're still the king of the super stickers, but thank you so much for the $2 super. And hello to you. We got Ashley's in the house, too. Morning, guys, watching from Wisconsin. Go Broncos. Let us know about where in Wisconsin.
She's here for the Rogers talk.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Coffee brewing from Korean. I got my iced coffee today that I made, or over ice, which my coffee maker can make, which is pretty great. Kenny Booker in the house, fellow staff writer. Good morning, Nick and Scott. Get some Broncos decor, Nick. Only one piece. Come on, man. Well, this is a shared office. This is my wife's desk here. And the fact that I can hang this up at all, I am appreciative. You know, it's like, yes, dear. I love you, dear. Like, so she's she put that up there for me. So God bless her. Gary Leeds Palmer, also I would say the king of the superstars, always coming in here, giving us the stars. Good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos Country. Good to see you. Zebulon's in the house, too. Potentially
That's
some
Kevin.
Stars. What was that?
That's Kevin. Hey, Kevin.
Kevin. Zebulon's way more fun to say, though. You got to admit. Bron and Scott in the house. Stay cool, Nick. High temps there. It's starting to cool off. Nick, you're my favorite streamer coming from Taylor. Well, find some better streamers, Tape Knobs. Thank you. That's really nice, man. I really do appreciate that.
You don't get out much, huh?
Is this your first stream? No, Greg Smith. I appreciate you guys, Nick. Ashley in the house. I live 20 minutes out of Green Bay. All right, good times. One of my mom's best friend is the percussion teacher at University of Green Bay. So been there many times.
So that was she's wearing the orange. So I think we got a Bronco here, and not a Packers person. That's Broncos orange if I've ever seen it.
And Scott is at the stadium from Charlie Beagle. Well, let's get into it. And a shout out again to Muhammad for this super sticker. And guys, like I said, if you are not in a position to contribute to the show like Muhammad is here, then just subscribe to the show, subscribe to Scott's channel as well. And, that's something you can do that can be really helpful while not digging into your pocket. And there's the link as well if you guys want to do that. So let's get into this. Let me pull up the screen share here. Stalling. Look at just saying stalling while I'm stalling is the best method. So I think today we're going to talk. So and can you guys see that? Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay. Pixelated or anything? Okay, cool.
No, it looks good.
So great. We are going to talk the Broncos. Yes. Last Thursday I talked the offensive line, really dug through the offensive tackles, the interior offensive line, Quinn Miners, what Broncos going to do about right tackle, Garrett Bowles' emergence, et cetera, et cetera. Today, I want to talk about probably what is the most interesting position for the Broncos in all of training camp leading up to the season. And besides the quarterback position, which is interesting from a sycophant kind of way, it's just punish me, thank you, sir, may I have another. But it's the cornerback position for the Denver Broncos. And the cornerback position is one that for, many years for the Broncos, it was, you guys know, you listeners know, the no-fly zone. Bradley Roby, Aqib Talib, Chris Harris Jr. That team, though, that secondary, those cornerbacks, their ability to play man coverage across the board was literally probably the defining factor of that defense for 2015, 2016, and either that or the pass rush, which was pretty darn good too. It's synergy, right? Everything feeds in itself. Was incredible. But over the last few seasons, the Broncos cornerback room has fallen off a cliff. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Last year, the Broncos were starting a late third round rookie, Michael Ojemudia, Bryce Callahan, who has never had a healthy season in his career despite playing excellent last year, and AJ Boye, who, I mean, when he was traded for, what did they give up? A 5th round pick, I think. Everyone's like, oh yeah, he still might have some good football in him, but he's been injured recently and he's 31 now. That cliff could be coming on. The cliff could be approaching where he falls off. Turns out that's the case. The Broncos are playing literally their 7th and 8th string corners by the end of the season, and that wasn't good enough. So the Broncos go out and attack it, and man, what a fun position to look at this season. Before we dive into this team itself, though, Scott, I want you to talk to me about cornerback position in general. I know that you are somebody, maybe you'll get a little bit of envy with this discussion today, given the position of the Falcons cornerback room right now. AJ Terrell, great pick. Thank God you guys sniped him from the Raiders, because the Raiders panicked and then took Damon Arnett, who looks like a bust. But the cornerback position, how valuable is it? What's the trend right now? We always talk about, like, big quarterbacks playing baseball instead of football, the guys with those kind of arms. What's going on with the cornerback position in today's NFL? Just in general.
Because the passing game has become so much more of a focus over the last 10 years. Like, every rule change that's happened in the last 10 years has been to protect the quarterback, protect the receivers, all this type of thing that you have to have. You can't have enough cornerbacks. You just can't. There used to be sayings about you can't have enough, whatever position, but now it's defensive backs. You can't have enough of them. You'll have 6 of them on the field, a lot, maybe 7. I mean, what comes after dime? We can't call that the quarter package, can we? We go nickel, dime, and then what? 15-cent package to get 7 corners on the field, or defensive backs on the field. But what it's kind of done is, and I think why you see the 3-4 with your 2 guys that are edge rushers as much as anything with Vaughn and Chubb, is it's limited the effectiveness of the linebacker position a little bit, because you have to get after the quarterback and you have to cover the receivers, and the running game has been disvalued. What's the word I'm looking for?
Devalued.
Yeah, devalued here a little bit. And I don't necessarily agree with that as much, because, if you can run the ball, it sets everything else up. It sets up play action. It sets up 3rd and shorts, 2nd and shorts, free plays, first downs, clock control, all that kind of stuff. It's one of the reasons why I think here in Atlanta, we're interested in seeing what Arthur Smith can do with that offense that he had at Tennessee. Now, he doesn't have Derrick Henry or that same offensive line, but having multiple corners. So when we were talking about Patrick Surtain, and the questions coming in is, can he win a job, or, will he win the number 1 position? I'm like, listen, I don't know what position he's going to play, and I don't think they do either right now. He's going to play. He's going to be on the field a lot. He can play any one of 5 with his size, physical ability, with his strength and size, and coverage ability, his fluidness and coverage. He can play 5 positions across any one of a nickel. He'll be on the field. So, and you see here on our lads, which we're showing here, they've got multiple corner positions, multiple defensive backs listed as number 1s. They're running 4 here, and Surtain is one of them. Now, whether he's one of the first 2, maybe not, but he's going to play a lot of snaps. He'll play as many snaps as anybody, and it's a pick that I'm looking forward to watching this year and for the next 10 years with the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, no, that pick at the time with Justin Fields staring at us in the face, all the Aaron Rodgers hype at the moment of the draft was definitely a little bit of a shock to me. I thought they were going to go with a Rashawn Slater, somebody that they were hinted at a lot, if not the quarterback position. But the more I've had time to marinate on it and think about it, Patrick Surtain makes a lot of sense. You guys know, if you've been following my account on Twitter or myself forever, that I really do devalue the linebacker position. Now, there are obviously guys who 5-tool linebackers, 3-down linebackers, but for the most part, linebacker, as you've talked about, is a devalued position. Teams know they can isolate those guys in coverage and pick on them over and over again.
And if you're in a 3-4, one of those outside linebackers are hybrid defensive ends. So, yep. I would hedge on that a little bit. It's like, well, you're going to devalue Von Miller. No, he's valued for what he getting after the passer like an end. So that's a 4-3 defensive end, 3-4 outside linebacker. Same difference in my opinion.
I like Pro Football Focus, I think, was the first to do this, but they kind of have changed the descriptors of these players, where it's instead of defensive end, outside linebacker, which is so different, 3-4 to 4-3, you kind of just talk about it, especially since 4-2-5 is essentially the base for most teams in today's NFL. It's edge rusher, whether it be 3-4, 4-3, and then also off-ball linebacker, which to me means like they're not on the line of scrimmage, right? They're
that
one
was an odd
level
ball.
off.
So, that fits too. So,
yep. So you're right about Patrick Surtain though. The more I thought about it, the more it made sense. I've been screaming about defensive backs in general, how you need to load up on the position. It's probably I used to be you need depth on the defensive line and edge rushing position, which I do believe is true, but I don't think it's to the same extent that you need depth at the cornerback position in today's NFL, given how it's a track meetup out there. You're going to need bodies. And if you get injuries out there, your depth is going to show. And good quarterbacks, they can isolate one player and go at them continuously. So if you can have 4 or 5 good cornerbacks, even though they're not all going to be starting, that's fine, because eventually you're going to need them, whether it be injuries or just the flow of the game where guys are getting tired and somebody needs a chance to put their hands on their hips on the sideline for a second.
Yeah, and the R lads here, it's a little interesting because you look at their defense. They're running a new 12-man defense, which is nice. That'd be really you can run a 3-4 and a nickel at the same time. But looking at this, when I first started talking to Chad about this, help us do some of these things. I'm like, all right, what are your needs? And he put down corner twice. Well, then, so I'm like, okay, well, it's going to be, Patrick Surtain is probably going to be the guy that you're going to want to take in that spot. They did, but that was before free agency.
Yeah.
So when we talked about that was before free agency. So with Kyle Fuller and Ronald Darby coming in, how do you think they fit in here? They obviously, you can't start this defense because it's 12. So, who's the odd man out? Do you think right now in a base, on first down, who's on the sidelines?
Man, that's such a tough question, and one that's been plaguing me since the draft happened.
Good problem. It's a good problem to have.
Yes, there are bad problems and there are good problems, and this is a good problem to have. I guess because I'm always a long walk to a small drink of water. The biggest thing here for this cornerback position is that you have some guys who have injury histories. Bryce Callahan's never played a full season. Ronald Darby played a full season for the first time in his career last year. So what is the starting 2 cornerbacks? What are the starting 3 cornerbacks going to be when everybody's healthy? That remains to be seen. I honestly don't have a clue right now. I would assume it's going to be what they have listed here with Surtain, Fuller, and Darby. But man, Bryce Callahan was incredible last year. He's one of the best nickels in football. So that's really hard to take him off the field. But you paid Darby huge money. I think Darby might be the most slept on Bronco on this team right now. Because of what the Broncos invested in him. I think he's only 27 years old last year. Go back and watch the tape. He was awesome last year for the Washington football team. Almost slipped there. So it's going to be real interesting, but I think people are really sleeping on Darby. And when the Broncos signed Darby, also, Vic Fangio said this was our number 1 target this offseason from other teams to bring him in. This is before Kyle Fuller became available, but they really value Darby, and I think people are really writing him off right now because they know Bryce Callahan. He was great. Kyle Fuller, former All-Pro, and then the number 9 overall pick. But Darby's really, really good when healthy, and he's still young.
And I'll tell you what's interesting to me, because you start talking about age. And what's interesting to me is NFL corners are arguably the best athletes in the world, period. I might figure out what somewhere in the NBA and say, okay, a shooting guard maybe, or a point guard might be that guy. But the corner is the most athletic position on the football field, hands down. If you start looking at combines, best shuttles, best L cones, best 40s, all that kind of stuff, all comes from the cornerback position. So you'd think that that's a position that you're going to lose fairly quickly with age, right?
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily so, because it's also a smart position. So as these guys lose a step, and if they're smaller, they can still play this position Darby can play at a high level at corner for another 3-4 years. And then maybe he goes to free safety if he wants to finish off his career, or, a full-time nickel or something like that. But even if they start losing a step, because it's a little bit of a contradiction when we talk about guys in their quick twitch. Yes, that's the first to go when we're talking about aging, but the experience there and the technique might be the most important at the cornerback position than any other position, except maybe, interior offensive line. So, I like how you're discussing. He's 27, which when you start thinking about maybe slowing down a little bit when you start thinking about running backs and these athletes and stuff, but not necessarily. He's got another 4 years at a high level if he's able to stay injury free.
Yeah. So, the Broncos, again, they targeted him. They valued him. They think he's going to be a great scheme fit, where historically, I think Darby has been better in more of a man scheme. But that's just been more what he's been asked to do. And with the Broncos, they play, it's match quarters, it's matchup zone. So it looks like man a lot of times. It's very God, coverage is probably the most complex thing to talk about in football right now with how much they're asking these guys to do. But I think Darby's going to be really good this year if he can stay healthy. But that's the kicker, right? Last year is the first year he's ever stayed healthy. So if that can hold true this year, then that's great. But I don't think I'd bank on Darby and Callahan both staying healthy for a full 17-game schedule. So the Broncos have 4 guys. Who are they going to play? I think it's going to, unfortunately, just the reality of it, it'll play itself out, and whoever is available is going to be playing.
Yeah, and there's plenty. A 17-game schedule. There's plenty of playing time, and as long as you're having success and winning, people will be happy splitting time. I mean, nobody's happy splitting time, but it makes it a whole lot easier when you're winning and you're being part of it. You're staying fresh, and frankly, the guys that get a little older are happy to save their bodies a little bit. So there's healthy competition out there, and hopefully everybody stays healthy. And there will be plenty of football for all of these guys if they're living up to their potential.
Yeah, so guys, let us know what you think about Darby in the comment section. Let's get to a few of these comments real quick. We got Jeremy coming in saying if healthy, our pass defense has to be top 10 or something is seriously wrong. It would be pretty shocking if not. The only way I could see it not being top 10 is if the Broncos offense is putrid this year. And that means that they are having a really hard time attacking, right? They're having to be much more reactive on the defensive side of the football. They still should be top 10 probably, even if the offense is bad again this season. But
you know what? I might go the other way, because if you're giving the ball around, then you're going to wear them down with a running game. So I might think that in the other direction, having watched the Falcons play, is if the offense is really good and teams are playing from behind and they have to throw. Yeah, and then maybe they're running up some stats a little bit, but that might not necessarily be as important.
Yeah, I guess I should have prefaced that where I'm talking more of a efficiency standpoint rather than raw volume, because obviously, if you have a great offense, you're going to give up more garbage time yards. I don't put much stock in raw statistics. I'm much more on the efficiency side of things. EJ coming in here saying you need 5 to 7 quality corners in today's NFL with how pass happy the league has become. Yeah, good point, EJ. And that's something that I think has been really true over the last few seasons for the NFL in general. Defense year to year, because it relies on 14 to 15 good players all being healthy, all being on the team at the same time, it's really volatile. It's impossible. I'm literally going to say it's impossible to stack incredible top 3 defenses year after year after year. But the teams that have been the closest to doing that have been the teams that have great depth in the secondary. So the Minnesota Vikings attacking the secondary a lot, have had a top 10 defense almost every single year. The wheels fell off last year for the defensive tackle position for them, but really good defense year after year. And the number one that comes to mind is the Baltimore Ravens, who have invested so heavily at safety, cornerback, and actually kind of devalued the edge rusher position, which I think is interesting. They draft them, they develop them, they let them go for comp picks. That's been the Ravens' motto for that edge rushing position. But the cornerback, they invest heavily, and they've probably been the most stable, great defense year to year over the last 5-6 years. So kind of beating the trend there. So good point, EJ. And we got a super coming in here. Let's get to that guy real quick. Okay. Mac85 said he's saying, Canary in the Coal Mine. I watched and gave the thumbs up. So Luke and I guess I'm showing my age here. I had a brain fart. I definitely heard about it when we talked about it. Like, oh yeah, of course I've heard of that. But so Luke asked me what that was, and I was like, Canary in the Coal Mine. I've heard of it. I could not tell you exactly what it means.
It's canary in the coal mine.
Yes, in the coal mine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So, what's a coal mine? Are those still legal? We allowed to do those anymore?
There's a bunch of mines in
yeah, we do. We're not allowed to talk about them, I think, is how it works.
You got to be careful in the mines out here in Washington. There's a bunch you'll stumble upon in the mountains, and some of them they have like poison gas that you'll just drop dead, and some of them have big drops and very unstable, but you'll happen upon them. So got to be careful. Stay out of mines, kids. Don't let your kids play in mines.
Yeah,
we got Tommy.
Scary. Not all of them come out and turn into Batman.
Tommy Simmers coming in here saying we have to have a pass rush to maximize the draft picks and contracts in the secondary. Corners don't get picks, rushers do, unless it's Bailey or Revis. And I mean, it's true for both, right? Like if your cornerbacks can hold an extra half second, your pass rusher is going to get home more often. If your pass rush is getting home, your cornerback's jobs are going to be easier. If your team has a lead, if your team is not turning the ball over and giving the other team plus field position, like all these things really matter. If your offense is holding on to the football, right? Like all these things lead into maximizing your contracts, your secondary, your pass rushers, etc. That's what makes people say football is the ultimate team game, but I mean, really it is, because everything depends on itself. It's a positive feedback loop, so to speak. So I agree with you, Tommy. And last year, like, why is the Broncos secondary are so bad in the turnover department? Well, you lose Von Miller, your secondary is dinged up, and your offense is bad. Ding, ding, ding. You're not going to create many turnovers because you're not pressing the other team to be aggressive with the football.
Yeah, I agree the same way. Turnovers start with the defensive line. You know, pressure tells in any sport. Pressure tells, and that's where it starts going. And then you got to have guys that can make the plays, obviously, you know, that aren't just holding and panicking because you know, they've gotten beat. So it's all a lot of synergy there, a lot of synergy. And offensive football, I think, is the ultimate team game. You know, the offensive side. I've told this story before when I first started scouting and talking to kids. I said, you know, all these top level guys, most of them played both ways. So which do you like better? He's like, I like defense better. I said, how come? He goes, because I can dictate the play on defense. I'm like, all right, I like that. That's a good answer. So, you know, you can have 10 guys fall down, but if Von Miller goes in and sacks quarterback, the play's over. You know, you can, on offense, you can have 10 guys do their job. One guy holds, plays over. One guy doesn't block Von Miller, the play's over. So it's hard. And maybe that's why all the rules have gone towards the offense lately, but it's hard to play offense. It is.
Fantasy football gets eyeballs on a lot of games that otherwise people wouldn't be watching. I mean, there's a reason that, the Red Zone is one of the most watched games every single week, because people just want to see points and they want to see if their fantasy football team is winning. But we got EJ coming here with a good question, or comment, I guess. Patrick Surtain can match up well with bigger tight ends and running backs, given his speed above our linebackers that can't cover. And I think that's just the way the game is going. We saw Vic, after they drafted Patrick Surtain, talk about how he's going to play more 4 cornerback, 6 defensive back sets this season. And Scott, I guess I'll volley this over to you. The Broncos, do you think the over-under 3.5 cornerbacks on the field, is it going to be closer to 4, or is it going to be closer to 2 this season?
Well, 3's a nickel, 4's a dime. So, yeah. You know, so I might go under that and be a base nickel, you know, and say that your base is going to be 3 with safety. So a base nickel would be under, and then I think you'd be more in a 2 than a 5. Or now I'm getting confused. Yeah, but you'll be more in a base 2 than a dime, but you're going to be in a nickel more than anything. So yep. I would say I would go under with that and go towards a 3. Yep.
But this is a good comment, Surtain. I think you saw it when I guys pulled it up after the draft, and a couple people stole this tweet, which made me laugh a lot. But the Mock Draftable is a website where they kind of show the spider graphs of all these guys' metrics, their size, like how they relate to other athletes that have been tested. And the number 1 defensive back that Patrick Surtain's athletic testing size linked up with was Derwyn James, who the Chargers went from the 31st team against tight ends, according to DVOA, the year before they drafted Derwyn James, to number 1. So everybody's screaming about linebacker. You need these linebackers, which, yes, I mean, would it be great to get a Luke Kuechly out there? Absolutely. Sign me up, please. So
here's my hypothetical on that, Nick. So what's the concern if you've got Surtain on Kelsey? What's the concern there?
I guess the concern is that the Chiefs or whoever will line up or audible to a run play at the line of scrimmage, and then you're going to give up 4 or 5 yards on a run play. Yep. But like,
good answer. So your concern is that he's going to get overpowered in the rush.
Yes.
So the concern of a linebacker on Kelsey is he won't be able to cover him. So what are you more comfortable with? Surtain standing up Kelsey at the line of scrimmage, or a linebacker dropping into coverage with Kelsey? I know my answer on that. I know where I'd go with that one.
Absolutely. You know? And this is a core tenet of Vic Fangio recently as well, where he's
I would absolutely say he can stand up Kelsey and let other guys swarm around rather than having a 260-pound linebacker in coverage against Kelsey. I know where I'd go.
Yep. Absolutely. Vic Fangio really baits teams into running the football. He uses his safeties to come downhill and gap fill like he would, many teams would, the linebacking position. And they do a lot of funneling as well for the linebacking position. So people want the Broncos to invest heavily in linebacker, but Vic Fangio does not ask a lot of these guys. He puts them in position to succeed pretty well with what they do. Talking to Cody Alexander a lot on Twitter about that recently. You guys should go check him out. He's he's written multiple books on defensive schemes and coverages. He's pretty darn good at Coach A, I believe. But you're absolutely right. And it's also what's more likely to create a home run, the run play or the pass play. And in today's NFL, it's not the days of, limiting teams to 60 yards total gained or like 3 and outs constantly. I think those days are over. If you can limit the big plays and make a team have to march the ball down the field 10, 12 plays without making a mistake, without making a penalty, and it's even harder to score touchdowns once you're in the red zone compared to the 40-yard line, the 50-yard line because of the space, I'm signing up for that every time. And if they can score a touchdown marching it 12 plays down the field without making a single mistake, hats off, do it again the next drive. But those home run plays, that's when you get killed. And we've seen that with the Chiefs, the Buccaneers last year, all these teams. It's the home run hitting teams that are the killer offenses.
And there's a decent discussion going in. Someone, I think, dropped in some bait, and it's been taken about Champ Bailey being overrated.
Oh, no. He was incredible, guys.
Speaking of corners, and, my question on that always is, well, where do you rate him? So if you say, oh, he's overrated, well, where do you rate him? If you say he's the best cornerback of all time, maybe a little overrated there, maybe not. But if you're saying a top 5 guy, top 5 of the modern era at corner, no, I don't think that's overrated. But anyway, so I'm interested. I am watching these. I don't respond to all of them, and I appreciate the welcome back from so many of you. So thank you very much.
I want to get to this real quick from Zebulon, just because you had a lot of you were very high on Surtain coming into this. Who's your pro comparison? Some people say Richard Sherman. I think Surtain is a better athlete than Sherman. I think he's more scheme versatile. We haven't seen Sherman do much outside of the cover 3 scheme, which he's dominant at. But it's kind of like he's a knuckleball pitcher, right? He's got his niche, but Surtain is more rounded, I would say.
No, and I once you have one of those that stick in your mind, you stay with it, and it's hard to flush those guys out of there. So when I think physical corners, which Patrick Surtain is, the first guy that always comes to mind for me is Rod Woodson. So if you get Rod Woodson light, speaking of one of the greatest of all time, then you're gonna be pretty happy. So the ceiling on this guy, best case scenario is you're talking to Rod Woodson. Would I say, oh, he's the next Rod Woodson? No, that's I wouldn't put that on anybody. But as
far as modern comparison,
the physical type of ability that he has, the physical nature of his game, Rod Woodson was a fluid safety playing corner. And that's kind of how I see Surtain coming out.
Do you have a modern comparison?
Not as much. I haven't kept up with the pro game as much as I know old guys better than the newer guys, so I got some catch up to do.
My pro comparison would be Xavier Rhodes. I think that Surtain maybe is a little bit more physical, but as far as the length, maybe not always the best sticking on those really quick twitch guys, but can do some inside outside stuff, and the length, man, just the length is incredible for both those guys. So that's the one that sticks in my head. But I really love Rod Woodson. That's the ceiling. I typically try not to give guys.
That's arguably the best to ever play the game. But a physical guy. I mean, I'm a Deion Sanders fan. He made Atlanta relevant when he was drafted in 1989. Was here for 4 years, I think, and is in their ring of honor, however you want to call it, for 4 years. I mean, that's how good he was. But he's almost like when we're talking performance cars, he's a little bit like a Tesla. He's more of a one-trick pony. It's just that, the Tesla one trick is that it can go 0 to 60 in blazing speed. It's absolutely amazing. That one trick is world eye-popping. And Deion was like that. His one trick was he could take a guy and take him out of the game. He had more than that because if he got the ball in his hand, he was going to score. But Rod Woodson, I think, was probably more of a complete player than Deion. But again, I say I don't argue levels of elite because you can win either way. And if Nick, you were going to say I like Rod Woodson and I'd say I like Deion Sanders, I wouldn't argue with you. I'm like, that's a good pick. I can live with.
We got Max Powers coming in Max Power with the $5 pound. I think that's not the euro sign, it's the pound sign.
Nope, that's the pound. Yep. That's
okay.
The pound.
So 3 lines on the shirt there for Max. Sorry about cheering against unless you are, Scottish or Irish.
Yeah, so I got to know, like Max, who's your club team? Because with a name like Power, because I know we had a Leicester fan in here, and they play at King Power, so that would be a good one.
We got Max, though. Thank you so much, Max, for being generous with your time and also your hard-earned cash. Showing some love to my favorite hosts. Man, Max, too kind. Who are your guys' top 3 under-the-radar guys who don't get much love but should? One of mine would be Ronald Darby still. I'm just going to keep this to the Broncos in general. But number 1 for me would be Ronald Darby. The Broncos paid him a big contract. He was really talented last year. He's only 27 years old. I think he was drafted. He must have been a young 21 because he feels like he's been in the league forever. Second round pick, I think, for the Eagles. And maybe a late. No, he was a second rounder. Florida State, I think also. And everyone's talking about Bryce Callahan, rightfully so. Everybody's talking about Kyle Fuller, rightfully so. Patrick Surtain, number 9 overall pick. Hell yeah, I'm excited. But don't sleep on Darby, right? I feel like he deserves a little bit more hype than he's getting. Another under the radar guy. I think that while he's never going to be an absolute star, I think he was the best Broncos linebacker last year, and that's Josie Jewel. He's got limitations as far as his size and his overall speed, his top end speed, but he's twitched. He's extremely instinctual, and he's just rarely ever out of position. He was a 0-star guy that went to the University of Iowa, grew up on a turkey farm in northern Iowa, right on the border of Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and 4th-round pick. And he's on his last year of his contract, but right now, I mean, he's solid, right? Like, you can do far worse than Josie Jewel. He's not going to make mistakes, and that's what you need from your linebacking position. The other under-the-radar guy on this team, honestly, I might go Melvin Gordon. He was top 5, top 10 down the stretch last season. He's still a pretty darn good running back. And the Broncos' interior offensive line was struggling for the most part last year. But when Drew Lock, had his big steps forward last year, the last 6 games or whatever it was, Melvin Gordon was the engine running the offense. So I think he's a little bit under the radar. Everybody likes the new shiny thing, Javonte Williams, which they should. I'm really excited about him. But Melvin Gordon's still a good running back. And I would expect him to get his due this season. He's talented.
And I cheat on this a little bit because I try and consider that most people aren't as crazy as we are in here. And I said these type of pods and what we do for a living, we cater to the lunatic fringe of sport fans. And I can say that with an honestly, because I was always head lunatic.
Yeah.
So we're all lunatics in here. Yes. So if you look at if you ask the average Broncos fan, they might not know who Patrick Surtain is. He's never played it down for them. They're not necessarily watching the draft. You got 4 million Broncos fans worldwide. How many of them actually know who Patrick Surtain is and all that stuff? Not as many as you'd think. So when they picked him, I'm like, this guy's going to be a star. So for me, that's a little bit under the radar. I like Cortland Sutton. I'm going to call him Sutland again, and you guys are going to laugh at me. Just start laughing at me. We'll have to put $1 in the tip jar or something every time I say Sutland. Cortland Sutton. Coming off an injury, comeback player of the year. That's where I hope that he finishes the season. People are forgetting how good he was around the league. Nobody talks about him as one of the best receivers in the league. I promise you. They will and they should. So I'm going that way. And then Quinn Miners. I like Quinn Miners coming in here. The belly of the beast coming in, and he should get some time. He should be number 2 at worst across 3 different positions. And with injuries, with a 17-game season, I think we're going to see a little bit of Quinn Miners this year too, coming in as a rookie. And then I can cheat again and say running back Javonte Williams. He's really good. He's really good. So those might not be guys that this group would consider under the radar, but across, if you happen to find us, Googling Broncos pods and you happen to watch this, like, I want to learn more about the Broncos. You might not know how good Javonte Williams and Patrick Surtain are coming in for the draft, and they're going to be impact players this year for sure.
Yeah, good calls all around. I do think it will be talked about. I talked about this
real quick before I forget. I'm sorry, Nick. Yes, Daryl Green, absolutely. Daryl Green. There's still the chat conversation going on about the cornerbacks. Nick won't remember Daryl Green. I will. I'm an 80s kid. Daryl Green, and if I'm not mistaken, you guys can Google this while we're talking. I think it was his mom where he got his speed because, he was still running in the 4.3s at 40 years old. They used to do those like Wide World of Sports things where they'd have competitions with different athletes and stuff. They'd bring in 2 football players and they'd run a 60 is what they'd run at the time. And Daryl Green, they quit doing them because no one would race against Daryl Green because he was still that fast. And I'm pretty sure that his mom was the track star in that team. So he got a speed from his mama, and he's phenomenal. He's an all-time guy for sure. Good call on that one.
Yeah, and Sorry about the plane going over here. Living close to SeaTac, that's going to happen sometimes. Windows open because it's actually cooler than it's been in a while. But I think you said Miners leaving the number 2 across 3 different positions. I am curious to see what happens between him and everybody's talking about Cushenberry versus Miners, but Natane Moody versus Quinn Miners as well is going to be an interesting battle. And let's get to Peter's stars here real quick. Hope you had a great holiday, Scott. Did you hear about the number of takeaways for Ojemudia? One of the stats had him 4th in the NFL. Wonder if he will get more playing time than people expect. I don't know what specific stat you're talking about. That would be interesting to see. I know that he had a beautiful pick week 1 that was nullified because of a roughing the passer or defensive holding, something like that. I think Shelby Harris committed a penalty that got in a beautiful Ojemudia sack taken away. But Ojemudia, the way this Broncos team is set up is hopefully you won't need to see Ojemudia that much this year starting, but that's okay because you still have 3 years left of control. And for a rookie cornerback, that's gold. So this year, if he's the 5th cornerback and he's getting mostly special teams reps, that's fine. He's growing, he's developing. And next year you have 2 Broncos cornerbacks that are going to be free agents in Bryce Callahan and Kyle Fuller. And what the Broncos do with those 2 guys probably depends on what Ojemudia is doing behind the scenes, because he definitely could be a starting boundary cornerback on this team. And now what you'd hope to have for his rookie year where he's starting and learning, that's what he gets this year. So he got, what did I say? They cut his teeth last year. He's going to have a year to kind of just grow a little bit, learn the game more and more. After they benched him, they brought him back. He was much better. I would not sleep on Ojemudia as far as his long-term prospects. But for 2021 specifically, how this team stacks up, if he's starting, that means something probably went wrong.
Or he just stepped up.
Or he's amazing. Yeah. Probably.
One of the things we talk about with first round draft picks, or y'all hear me talk about recruiting and stars again. If you sign 24 and 5-star guys and 3 3-star guys, you're gonna have a good class. Those 3-star guys might end up outplaying those other ones, but it means that you, on the whole, those guys are beating out 4 and 5-star guys. It means we missed those 3-star guys. So you've got these big names. They're proven. They're good. We know that we're going to get, and if they're healthy and this kid outplays them, so be it. It doesn't mean the others are necessarily a bust. It means he raised his level beyond expectations. That's a good thing. And that's what comes with the competition that we've been talking about at this position. It's stacked. So it doesn't necessarily matter who has the position, because it's going to be locked down. There's so many good players there that whoever wins these jobs, it's going to be a plus position for the Denver Broncos. And that's a really, really good position to be in. No pun intended. Going back to Daryl Green and Herschel Walker, I saw that one on there. Herschel's he's a legend, arguably the best college football player of all time. Herschel was about 240 pounds. He outweighed 3 of his offensive linemen on that 1980 national championship team. We want to talk about freak of all freaks. But when Herschel ran, Herschel was the fastest to 20 yards. So I don't know if you can see my hands. When he ran and he'd run against some of these guys like Daryl Green, it kind of looked like this in a 60. Poof! And then he'd get caught. So, but he was an indoor 60 meters champion, Herschel was. But across top speed, Daryl Green was faster than he was. But Herschel Walker was the freak of all freaks in nature. You won't see another guy like him again unless you got Shaq out there running a 4.2, because you're talking about a guy that outweighed 3 of his offensive linemen in college on a national championship team. It's not going to happen again.
Jason Owe. No, I'm just kidding. Freak of freaks. We got Broncos 17-0 with the super sticker. I'm going to have to imagine what it is. And it's Drew Lock / Teddy Bridgewater holding up a Lombardi trophy after the season. So thank you very much for that beautiful super sticker. I'm imagining in my mind, Broncos 17-0. And the $20 super, man, you are.
Yeah, and let us know. You get to put in requests. We appreciate the support, but I feel guilty if we're not calling out your specific questions. So let us know anything that you want us to touch on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We got Vinny J coming in here too. Good morning, gentlemen. Season's getting close. This is, some people are like, oh, this is a boring time of year. We can really get off the rails and have a fun time discussing what all is going to happen here, and just it's much more. Loose flow, which really leads itself into the live stream podcast format. So that's a lot of fun. Peter coming back in here saying, I remember the many pre-draft worries about Surtain not being a good fit for the Broncos from several MHH staff. Have they gone now? For me, it was more so playing the off-ball boundary position for Surtain, because when you saw him go up against quick twitch receivers on the boundary, he got beat. I mean, it is what it is, right? And I preferred Caleb Farley's twitch. I think if you were playing one-on-one on an island in like the 20-yard line and you're saying, okay, that guy has to stop the wide receiver from scoring a touchdown, I would, and without like safety help as well and everything, I would probably take Caleb Farley because I think he is the better pure athlete. He is a little bit older, but like for real, if like the Titans might have gotten the best cornerback in this draft, but the back issues, they're really concerning. They're also the same back issues that Tiger Woods had, which we saw how debilitating that has been for him. It just, you never know what's going to need another surgery, et cetera, et cetera. So one-on-one on an island for the Broncos, what they were running schematically last year as a boundary cornerback, I preferred Farley, but for Surtain, I think he is more versatile. I think he is probably a better fit for the holistic effect of the defense because he is such a good tackler and intelligent. And Vic Fangio, we know from his history is he is not this is my scheme, we have to do this year after year kind of guy. He matches his scheme to what his players do best. And Surtain, if that means that the Broncos have to play more press on the boundary, Vic will do that. If that means that they're going to play Surtain over the slot as kind of a star position, kind of that heavier safety cornerback hybrid, Vic will do that. And Surtain's also 2 years younger. He's extremely intelligent. He's a great tackler. So as far as a pure boundary cornerback for off coverage, Caleb Farley, I preferred. But again, light came on after the Broncos drafted him. This team needs help in the middle of the field. They need help stopping tight ends. That all points to Surtain.
And for me, when you've got a top 10 pick, I don't necessarily want to draft for scheme.
Yeah.
Because scheme, not only as Nick is saying, schemes are going to change internally. You're going to run different defensive based on personnel. But the other part of that is coordinators change. Head coaches change all the time. So as a general manager, I don't want to use a top 10 pick on a scheme pick because the scheme can change. We might be changing coaches. If I need a corner, I want the best corner available. In my opinion, and the word that Nick used was versatile. In my opinion, the best corner in this draft was Patrick Surtain, which is why I said him. And we talked about schemes and how we might fit and all that type of stuff. But you're drafting for the next 12 years, not necessarily for the next 12 months. And for me, injuries aside, Surtain was a better player. So either way, if Farley's healthy, you're going to have a pretty good player there too. But I was a fan of the Surtain pick from the get-go.
And I will say, we'll see how it plays out, but I know that the Bears offered the same deal to the Broncos that they ended up giving to the Giants, where I think it was a first and a third this year and a first in 2022. And that would have put the Broncos in the range to, I think they could have gotten Caleb Farley if that was the case, or Greg Newsome. I'm really excited
Farley
about.
Fell into the second round, didn't he?
No, he was the Titans pick.
Okay.
He was the first round pick for the Titans.
Okay.
They took, so he was 20, 21, 22, somewhere around there.
I'm thinking of somebody else that was supposed to go up there pretty high fell in the second. I'll have to figure out who that is and talk about that on Thursday.
He fell there, and I'm really excited about Surtain. I do wonder if a better process would have been trading back and taking a Greg Newsome, Jason Owe, maybe a Jalen Phillips or a Caleb Farley, while also getting that first round pick in 2022. Again, that's not me saying that, oh man, I hate Patrick Surtain. It's just pondering the possibilities, right? Like the what could have been. Either way, what played out. And I'm really excited to have Surtain on this defense. He's going to be a decade-long player. I think it's also going to be awesome to see Broncos fans wearing that number 2 Patrick Surtain jersey now that the NFL has changed those number rules. It's again, if the Broncos are still looking for quarterback next year and or like looking to trade for a Russell Wilson, a Deshaun Watson, and Aaron Rodgers, having that extra first-round pick might have been the kicker to get it over the top. It's really hard to be upset about having a great player. It's kind of like the same viewpoint as Bradley Chubb and Josh Allen. Like, would the Broncos be in a better position if they had taken Josh Allen 5th overall instead of Bradley Chubb? No dip, right? Like, he's one of the most talented ascending players in football right now. But, man, that doesn't mean I don't absolutely love Bradley Chubb, and he's a cornerstone piece for this team, and hopefully they can figure the quarterback position out, because then you can take advantage of it. I saw people earlier, like you're talking about Champ Bailey being overrated. Champ Bailey wasn't overrated. He just, got limited because the offense was only going so far, and the defense around him wasn't as incredible as you'd hope, because a cornerback, even in a first ballot Hall of Famer, can only move the needle so much. And I don't want that to be the case for talking about Bradley Chubb, Patrick Surtain also, where both great players, both Pro Bowlers, maybe even all pros at some point. But because they don't have the quarterback position figured out, they're overrated. No, they're not overrated. It's just that even though they're valuable positions, they're not the quarterback. It still takes a team. And until they get that, it's going to be like, well, we have good players, but la-di-da. Coming back to like Joe Thomas all those years. Great player. First ballot Hall of Famer. Browns were absolute garbage. The one player can only take him so far.
You can't use the Browns as an example. I've told you this before. You can't use the Browns.
Okay.
It's like talking baseball in New York Mets. There's just franchises that are just doomed to lose no matter what. You can't use them as they're the outlier.
Yeah.
So no, but there's a phrase in scouting and recruiting and drafting, all this stuff, that it's not the player you miss that hurts you. It's the player you take that can't play.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take a guy and he can't play, that's what hurts you more than the guy. Oh man. So again, if Surtain turns out to be the guy, you're happy. You might have some whataboutism going on. Oh, we could have had this guy, guy. But if you get Surtain and Surtain turns out to be worthy of a top 10 pick, you're gonna be happy. You're gonna be happy there.
Yeah, if you hit doubles every time, you're gonna end up in the Hall of Fame. And Patrick Surtain, that maybe wasn't swinging for a home run, but gosh darn, that was as close to hitting a guaranteed double as you can get. And in the top 10, where the Broncos are picking, given the value position as well, it's not like they were drafting an interior offensive lineman or a running back or a safety or a linebacker. Like, hell yeah. Like, sign me up. Shane Daniels coming in here with a $10 super over on YouTube. YouTube listeners, like, subscribe, and share. I believe Patrick Surtain II is going to be used like Talib was used in the AFC Championship game against the Patriots. Talib took Gronk out of the play in the red zone. I mean, I think you're going to see Surtain matched up against the tight ends a lot, especially when the tight ends are detached from the line of scrimmage. They're going to lay him out there, maybe overhang position, also something that Vic Fangio hasn't done that much historically. But again, Vic Fangio, he is an innovator of defense, so we will see what he does with Surtain and that defense.
Well, and I think when we're talking about the cornerback room, you've got some veterans in there. Let them play assignment football, right? The guys that, aren't going to get lost out there, make sure that they're doing their jobs, make sure they're playing their assignment football. And then maybe Surtain freelances a little bit, using the same example on defense. When I've got a guy who might not necessarily have the greatest instincts in the world, but he's a hell of an athlete. So I drop him in on third down and say, you got one job, go be the quarterback, and that's kind of how you might do with Surtain as well. Could happen where you let him freelance a little bit in the defensive backfield, or just give him one job, but not necessarily the assignment football that you expect out of your front two guys who have been in the league for a while and your veterans, at least first year, the first year. So I think that's a good comment. And we appreciate the sticker on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Good question here from Daryl coming here. Gronk got double teamed, didn't he? I mean, that's kind of the case with a Gronk, like probably the best stretch of an offensive, definitely a best stretch of a tight end we've ever seen. Not the duration of a Gates or a Tony Gonzalez, but like his peak years were incredible. I mean, also nobody was doing what he was doing in the tight end position either, which makes it even more rare. But Gronk double team. I'm
thankful that they helped bring back the tight end position.
Yes.
It was crazy to me that got phased out for a while. I'm like, big and fast. What's wrong with big and fast? When did that go out of style? With these Smurf wide receivers, the greatest show on turf. Like I've said a zillion times as the old guy, I grew up with the I formation dynasties of the Cowboys and 49ers. Two big receivers, fullback, big running back, big tight end, win a lot of games. What's wrong with that? When did that go out of style and why? It still works. So I was very happy to see the tight end coming back because, I'm a little bit of a sadist. I like seeing those 260-pound guys running loose in the secondary. It's funny watching these corners and safeties bouncing off them. It's fun. That's why we like football, right?
I think a lot of those tight ends moved to the more money position of defensive end, at least the elite athletes, and it kind of made a talent gap for that kind of position. That's just, the theory there. But
it's switching over again because they're not allowed to hit the quarterbacks anymore.
Yep.
You've heard me rant on this before, the get off my lawn moment. I'm like, why would you play defense? You're not allowed to hit anybody. You can't cover, and you can't tackle.
Yep.
And I'm going to go
play basketball too. But let's get back to this cornerback room. I don't think we have any chats that are missing. Kyle Fuller, I think you can pencil him in as a starter this year. I'm not expecting. I think a lot of people, especially in Broncos, more than the casual fan, but like NFL fans in general. Oh, Kyle Fuller, all pro, coming back with Vic. Great. I'm not expecting a top 5 cornerback, given he's going to be 31 this year. It's still a new team. He's going to be very good, but maybe slightly his expectations are a little bit too high for me. I want to push back just a little bit with Kyle Fuller. What do you say?
So again, do a job. Have your veterans do a job. Not necessarily freelance, not necessarily having them put out there on an island, but he can do a job. You're going to have plenty of help out there. I'm more interested. How good are the safeties? Are the safeties going to be out there to back them up as well? And then for me, you started off, and I forgot about this. And 50 minutes later, I'm remembering. The most interesting position maybe for who's going to win it, and blah blah blah, is the cornerback position. But for me, the most interesting position on this team is like, what do I want to watch? What am I looking forward to? I'm looking forward to seeing Bradley Chubb and Von Miller.
Yes.
That's what I'm looking forward to. I want to see these two guys get after it at the same time on the same field. Because if those two guys play to their capabilities, the rest is just going to be gravy. So that's what I love. Again, grew up with Lawrence Taylor. I want to see an edge rusher. I want to see those guys going after it. So to me, maybe not intriguing, but most entertaining position is the two outside linebacker spots. That's what I'm looking forward to.
And just a PSA to all Broncos fans out there, when the Broncos are on the field defensively, keep your eyes on 58, because this might be the last season of him in a Broncos uniform. So, he's been incredible. First ballot Hall of Famer in my book. Definitely a Ring of Famer. Have a lot to be thankful for Vaughn. But, time is unstoppable, and age is something that's, you can't stop it. So enjoy Von Miller. Watch 58, because, man, he's had a heck of a run. It's not over yet, but, man, I love him. Oh, my gosh. Speaking of love, Pobby coming in here with the $50 super, just always so generous. Great show, as always, with the orange heart and the blue heart. Pobby, thank you so much. That means a lot to us. You're always coming in and being so supportive.
I'm back, and I'm feeling the love from everybody. It's great. I'm so happy to be back. I'm glad y'all are. Oh man, that guy's back.
Yeah, dead season.
I enjoyed it so much more when he was gone. And some of you might have, to be fair. You can't please everybody.
I didn't. I didn't have time to drink my coffee.
Pobby, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man, that is so helpful. Pobby being Pobby, as Peter says. Dang Pobby from Jeremy. Very helpful. And also, then we got to Tommy saying, "Shut up, Nick," talking about the end of Von Miller. It's just, I'm sorry, guys. I like to prep reality. I said the same thing a year ago too, so who knows what happens. We got to get moving here real quick. And again, another shout out, Pobby. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. The cornerback position here. I'm going to scroll over just a little bit to kind of hopefully get some extra views here, because we talked about mainly starters, but let's get to the second string here. You got Duke Dawson, I would say probably gone. Broncos traded a 7th round pick.
I scouted him going to Florida.
He's not that old. I think that's
the same Duke Dawson, right?
Yes.
The names start blending together. But I remember when he was going to Florida out of high school. I'm like, he's got to be 33, 34.
No, I don't think he's that old.
Okay.
I think he's still on his rookie contract even.
No, there's somebody else then. That can't be the same guy. I'm thinking of somebody else, because this was an Urban Meyer defensive back.
He might have been. So he was drafted in 2018. So this would be the last year of his rookie contract.
Okay. But same Duke Dawson. I'm glad it's all running together. It's a bad word, getting old.
It beats the alternative, though.
Yeah, for sure.
So Duke Dawson, I would say probably gone. Safety, cornerback, hybrid. He's been a okay body there, but not a difference maker. There's a reason the Broncos attacked the cornerback position the way they did. We'll see Dawson, compete in camp. Maybe something happens, but probably a guy who's going to be looking for work elsewhere. Probably the same can be said for Nate Hairston over here and Parnell Motley. We saw flashes of both those guys last year. I know for sure we saw Motley. I think we saw Nate Hairston too. Not great. Again, Broncos really attacked the cornerback position. The ones I'm interested in are on the bottom here with Bryce Callahan, Michael Ojemudia, Vincent Carey Jr., and Asang Bassi. Bassi, I think, is going to be ending up getting a redshirt season, being placed on the IR. I think he tore his ACL close to the end of last season. So he maybe could be back by the end of the year this year or midseason this year, but you have so many bodies at cornerback. Why not just stash him on the IR for a year, get him fully healthy? That's what I think should happen and will happen. Bassi, solid player, good tackler. Man, the crossing routes, he just does not have the juice to keep up with that. So I'm not sure if he's going to keep up with the guy who I think actually, I'm very curious to see if he makes the team. Kerry Vincent Jr., really talented. Many players on the team have said that he's probably the fastest guy on the team, which you need for those slots in today's NFL, given the amount of slot fades and crossing routes you're going to see. But is he going to make the roster, or is he going to be a practice squad guy? 7th round pick, but also teams are looking for cornerbacks. So that's one that's going to be interesting. We talked about Ojemudia already. Bryce Callahan, great player. Is he going to be a starter? The Broncos, could they possibly find a trade partner for him? I don't know. I feel like you're not, because of his contract, his age, his injury history, even though you could clear $6 million moving on from him, he's probably more valuable on this team, even as the fourth string cornerback right now, than trading him.
And then look at the safeties. You got a couple of rookies back as safeties there. So how well can they fit in, and how quickly can they get up to speed? Because we start looking at the depth here, and what could an injury do to this team? That might be the place that scares you the most. If there's an injury to one of the safeties, then you're like, how do we move things around? Maybe we put one of the corners over there. Maybe we play the defense. But if you're looking for maybe an Achilles heel to this team, there's not a ton of depth at the safety position right now. However, these two guys are pretty talented, so hopefully they can get up to speed a little bit. But that might be the one thing that scares you a little bit, is the backup position at safety.
It's okay. The Broncos are just going to draft Kyle Hamilton next year in the draft. I don't know how far ahead you are in your draft stuff right now.
I've got there's a guy that you listen to sources, and everybody's always telling you about players, and then if they're right, you remember them. So Jeff Sentinel, I believe, I can't remember his name real quick. He does Georgia for Dog Nation AGC. I did some work with them, and he knew my background and seen a lot of guys, and he said, check this guy out. And he's at Marist. Marist High School is 20 minutes from here. I know 20 minutes from everywhere. 20 minutes from here, and I was like, he was a 3-star guy, barely off the scene. I was like, that's 5 stars right there. That's 5 stars. I was like, I don't care where he's ranked now. I'll tell you where he's going to finish. He's going to finish with 5 stars next to his name, and he did. He was something else. I haven't watched him since, but I watched him at Marist. I'm like, and he was big time. And
you're talking about Kyle Hamilton?
Yeah.
Oh my God, man, he is special. I know the Broncos will need edge rusher next year. They'll need a right tackle, maybe quarterback as well. You have to drafting high, but Kyle Hamilton, if you put him with Justin Simmons, he's like I don't know how much you're into Pokemon or something like that, but not at all. But if Justin Simmons, let's say he's War Turtle, especially as a prospect, that far along, that would make Kyle Hamilton Blastoise, because he's bigger, faster, stronger. And Justin Simmons might be the best safety in the league, but that's how good of a safety prospect Kyle Hamilton is. Totally different type than like a Jamal Adams or a Derwyn James. But man, he's special, fun player.
I can always count on Jeremy to get my movie references. Always. Well, in this place of geographical oddity, 2 days from everywhere. 2 weeks from everywhere. That was a reference to "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?"
Oh, what a great movie.
Jeremy picked up on it, and I've discussed that's kind of where I live. I'm 20 minutes from everywhere. So
he's bona fide.
Thank you, Jeremy.
He's a suitor. No, okay. Well, guys, that's probably gonna have to get us out of here. We went an hour over. Thank you, guys. First off, before we even move any further, we got to give a shout out to everybody who contributed today's shows monetarily. Muhammad Badri came with the super sticker, king of the super stickers. We appreciate you. Mac85 City, thank you so much. Peter Middleton with the very generous superstars. We saw you there, buddy. Thank you for pointing it back out, though, so we can get back around to it with a good question. Max Power, I don't think he let us know who his club team was, but either way, let's go Deutschland. Sorry, Max, had to get that in there. Broncos 17-0 with the super sticker as well. We appreciate you. Shane Daniels coming in, and Pobby with the very, 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 very generous super chat as well. Trevor saying Malik Willis. That's my guy. I love Malik Willis. I know that we've talked about him a few times.
Other directions. So going, Marist is over here. Roswell's over here. So those were two guys I watched when I first moved back to Georgia. Malik Willis was at Roswell High School. Went to Auburn. We've talked about him a little bit before, saying that again. Gary Leeds Palmer. Gary, that's who we forgot. Nick was Peter. Appreciate you pointing that out. But Malik was a Virginia Tech commitment, and they were going to take him as a defensive back. I'm like, no, you're not. No way. And Auburn offered him as a quarterback. He went there, didn't stay there, but he's showing he was a quarterback all the way.
Oh man, if he's really inconsistent with his accuracy. He kind of reminds me of a junior season Lamar Jackson, or maybe sophomore season. So like the year before Lamar Jackson came out.
He wanted it as a sophomore. I'm pretty sure he wanted it as a sophomore. And then it's almost like Lamar Jackson, like, oh yeah, Lamar Jackson, let's try and find somebody else, because next year was just about as good as his Heisman year. He was a video game. Lamar Jackson was a video game at Louisville.
I think that's Malik Willis as well, but I think Malik Willis has a even stronger arm, like natural arm talent. I think he's got more of a whip on him. So man, if he gets it all together, he could be the first overall pick. He's got the tools. But thanks guys so much for coming in and joining us today. That's probably going to have to do it for us on today's show. Because we got things to do. I got a meeting that I got to fly off to, but we love y'all. That's been Broncos for Breakfast. We'll see you again next Thursday at 8:00 Mountain Time. You guys can find us on Twitter, Scott at Scout Kennedy. Go follow him. You can follow me at Nick Kendell MHH. Will be on Twitter. A little bit too addicted to our phones these days. At least I can speak for myself. That's why I go hiking, right? It's my chance to unplug without even having a choice. While you guys are over on Twitter, please follow us at Mile High Huddle and at Huddle Up Pod. If you're joining us on Facebook, please click those thumbs up. I can see right now we have, over on Facebook, we got 22. We can do better than that. We got a lot of eyeballs in here. So click those thumbs up if you're joining us on Facebook. While you're over there, follow us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. Become a supporter, join everybody. It's great. If you guys like the hat that I'm rocking today, huddleuppod.com to, shirts, coffee mugs, whatever. We need to get ourselves some Broncos for Breakfast coffee mugs. I've been pestering Chad about that. YouTube folks, first off, like, subscribe, and share. Help us. There you go. Chelsea Football Club. Still reigning champions, man. You got to enjoy that.
I got that one at Stamford Bridge, made in China. So it feels authentic to me. It feels authentic to me.
It tastes like victory. YouTube folks, thank you so much for joining us today. Please, youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. Let's get him up there. Also, I'm going to drop the link again in the chat for everybody joining us today. Click that. It'll take you to his page, and that can help us a lot. We got Greg Smith saying goodbye. Always hello, goodbye. Greg Smith. Love you. Trevor, coming a little late today, I think, but thank you so much for joining us. Facebook user saying great show, guys. Peter saying thanks as always. Jason saying Louisville. There you go for Lamar Jackson. And we got a Dapper Dan quote in here from
I like
Jeremy.
The odor.
Coffee cups for the win.
Homemade. Anyway, I'll stop now. Sorry.
That's totally. That's a great movie. I need to watch that again. My name is George Nelson, not Babyface. All right, guys, we gotta go. We love y'all. Stay cool. And we will see you again on Thursday. Go Broncos.